Okay, so today's video is about how to use trig functions to find trig functions. So the nice thing about trig is that if we have one trig ratio, we can find every other trig ratio that has anything to do with that triangle. And that's really what we're looking to do today. So how do we take one trig function and use it to find another trig function? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to remember what our trig functions are. So we have sine, we have cosine, and we have tangent. Those are the three that we're going to be working with today. Okay, now let's remember what the definitions of these are. So sine, if you need to, you can always use SOHCAHTOA. My son calls it the Polynesian god of math, which makes it a lot easier to remember. So says sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So for sine, we have opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so now we have our reminder of what all of our trig functions are and what they mean. So let's review what the parts of the triangle are, right? So we're always dealing with a right triangle. With these problems, you can really pick where your theta is or where the angle that you're looking for is. So I'm just going to name this one A, B, C. Okay, and then I'm going to name the opposite sides with the lowercase of those letters. All right, so if I was looking at angle A, the opposite of angle A would be directly across, and it would be the small letter A. Okay, the adjacent to A would be B, and the hypotenuse is always opposite of the right angle, so it would be C. Now, it's going to vary depending on which angle you're looking at. So let's look at an example. So let's say that I am told that tangent of A equals 3/4. Okay, so let's think about that. That means that I have opposite over adjacent to angle A. So I'm going to draw a triangle. I'm going to decide which one is my angle A. Okay, opposite of angle A, that side is 3. Adjacent to angle A is going to be 4. So I have 2 out of the 3 sides. Now, I want to find something else. I can find all of the other ones based on this one. So I'm going to name this one B. And I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what my hypotenuse is. So Pythagorean theorem says one side squared plus the other side squared gives me the hypotenuse squared. 4 squared, 16. 3 squared is 9, equals the hypotenuse squared. So 25 equals the hypotenuse squared. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I have 5 equals the hypotenuse. So now I know my hypotenuse. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. So now we know all 3 sides of our triangle. We can find any trig ratio that we want from here. So let's just find them all. Let's find sine of A, cosine of A, and then let's find sine of B, cosine of B, and tangent of B. Okay, we have all of our sides, so we can do this quite easily now. Sine of A, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so opposite is 3, hypotenuse is 5. 3/5. Cosine of A is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is 4, hypotenuse is 5. Sine of B, now I'm going to have to look from this angle. So I need to identify my opposite is 4, my adjacent is 3, my hypotenuse is 5. Sine of B is opposite 4 over hypotenuse, so 4 over 5. Cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 3 over 5. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so 4 over 3. So I can literally use one trig ratio, and I can use it to find the sides of my circle, and then I can use those sides to find every other ratio associated with that triangle. So let's try another one. Okay, we're going to be given sine of B. So they're going to give us sine B. Sine of B is going to be 8 over 17. Okay, we want to find tangent of A, sine of A, cosine of A. Cosine of B and tangent of B. Okay, the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out what our triangle looks like. So let's draw our triangle. Okay, A, B, C. So I have sine of B. Sine, so opposite over hypotenuse. So my opposite of B is 8, my hypotenuse is 17. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. We're going to have to use it a little bit differently this time because we have the hypotenuse and not the side. So we have 8 squared plus B squared equals 17 squared. 64 plus B squared equals, I don't remember 17 squared off the top of my head. Let's do the math. Grab a calculator. If I can find my calculator. Here we go. 17 times 17 is 289. So now I'm going to subtract my 64 from both sides. Gives me B squared equals 225. Take the square root of both sides. We get B equals 15. Okay, so our last side of our triangle is 15. Now let's go through and find all of our ratios. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, and we're looking from angle A. So 15 over 8. Sine of A, opposite over hypotenuse, 15 over 17. Cosine of A is adjacent over hypotenuse, 8 over 17. Cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse, 15 over 17. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, 8 over 15. So once we find the sides of our triangle, it's actually extremely easy to go ahead and find all of our ratios. So that's really all I'm asking you to do in this lesson is find the third side and then identify the ratios. I want you to be extremely comfortable with SOHCAHTOA, with understanding sine is opposite over hypotenuse, that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Hopefully this helps. Thanks, guys.